Welcome to the Sisterhood of Sweat. I am here today with Erica Rooney. Erica Rooney is a keynote speaker, executive coach, and HR consultant, chief people officer, and host of the podcast From Now to Next. She is on a mission to help women get seen, get heard, and get promoted by breaking out of their sticky floors and busting through glass ceilings to live a life filled with purpose and passion. As a top culture expert, Erica invigorates and educates organizations through change, driving a positive experience for employees and guiding executives through the process of change to lead to massive success. And today we talked about breaking through the glass ceiling, limited beliefs, being stuck in the middle of your big dream, pushing forward, and never ever quitting. It was such a good podcast. You guys are going to enjoy this. Erica had such a great spontaneous personality. So without further ado, we're going to dive into this episode with Erica Rooney. I'm excited to welcome Erica Rooney to the Sisterhood of Sweat today. And this promises to be a great conversation, one that you need to tune into, and one that I love to have. We are talking about breaking glass ceilings today. Take it away, Erica.
Hey, Linda, I am so pumped to be here. It is a beautiful day in North Carolina. So as soon as we finish this, I'm actually going to go head out for my long run. I have my last long run before a half marathon this weekend.
What is your long run?
It's a half marathon in Charleston, South Carolina.
I just ran 22 miles today.
Oh, good for you. Oh my gosh. I love it.
I should run a marathon. I know I should.
Yeah, if you're doing that, get your ass out there and go just get that medal. Check the bucket list, girl.
I'm wasting all those miles.
All those miles, they're good. They didn't even happen, you know?
Hey, my question is, do they have age categories?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I'm 60, so
get after it.
I need to do it. All right. I need to go somewhere, though, where I love hearing about, oh, I did a marathon in Maui, and I need to do something like that.
I will have to tell you about the most amazing half marathon I did in France one time. And it was by accident because I happened to be in France for a work trip. And I had run a half marathon in the States the week before. And so my colleague said, hey, you might as well do this one while you're here, stay an extra few days. And I was like, I cannot miss that opportunity. What I did not realize was that it was a wine marathon. So every mile point, there was a wine drinking station.
That's my kind of marathon.
You get your thing of wine. They had charcuterie boards set up. It was insane. It was amazing. I'm so glad I did it.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like fun. We're all like, we're down.
Yeah, we'll go to that one. Check that off.
Were you drunk by the end?
It did take me a lot longer to finish that half marathon than any other marathon in my life.
It could give you energy, right?
I mean, I felt no pain, I felt no aches.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. I remember doing the Spartan with my husband, and I did the Beast. That's the first one I ever did. And he did the sprint. And when he was done, he was like in a stupor. I was in a stupor. What am I saying? We were both in a stupor. I was probably like that. And you asked me a question. I'm like, he poured beer over his head and had that look on his face. It was so awesome. It was a fun time. So I would love to do a marathon somewhere cool like you did, like France or Switzerland or somewhere just out of my comfort zone and just do it. Now you gave me a goal for 2023.
That's a good 2023 action item right there.
See, I really believe in what you're about breaking the glass ceiling and about overcoming limited beliefs.
Yes.
And anybody listening today, you have to go back and listen to my podcast with Isaiah Henkel, because I've always been a very positive sort. And I don't think I realized how many limiting beliefs I had and how much other people had the same ones. And so, talk about a little bit about what a limiting belief is and how can someone recognize when they're having it?
Very good question. So I identify limiting beliefs as the sticky floors that are holding us back from busting through those glass ceilings, right? That could be perfectionism, imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough, thin enough, tall enough. I don't have the right credentials. I've never done that before. It could be the fear of failure, the fear of judgment. What will other people think of me if I'm doing this?
Oh, that's huge.
It can even be toxic relationships. Maybe you have a partner who always is bringing you down and telling you that you can't do all the things, right?
Right,
That's huge.
right. That's a real
And
one.
it can also be toxic behaviors, things that you are doing daily to self-sabotage that you don't even realize. So there's a plethora of sticky floors out there, right? And we all, to some degree, probably hit on a lot of them. Not all of them will impact us in a super negative way, but some of them can really hold us back and keep us stuck. And that's where you really need to be like, well, how do I know, right? How can I figure this out? And number one, I'm a huge believer in knowing your own core beliefs, because if you understand and you know your core beliefs, like you believe in trustworthiness, for me, courage is a big one. Health and fitness is a big one for me. Then you can ask yourself the questions when you get this stuck feeling of like, am I doing the thing that a person who is courageous would do? If the answer is yes, then I will keep rocking it out. If the answer is no, then I need to sit down and think about that a little bit, right? For me, health and wellness has always been a huge piece of my life. So I will ask myself, is this the thing that a person who is a fit, healthy person would do? If you're drinking a bottle of wine a night, the answer is probably no. So you have to assess what those daily actions that you are doing are and how they fit into your core beliefs. Once you nail those down, right? So for me, courage, health and wellness, two huge ones. But once you nail those down and you start to feel those icky, gross feelings of being stuck and not being able to move forward and questioning and that negative Nancy in your head going off, I've got a 3-step process that I always work through, especially with my clients that I work with. And number one, it's name it, right? Actually be able to name it and say, all right, Erica, you are really starting to question yourself in a way that reflects imposter syndrome, right? Why? The next question or the next step is question it. Is it true? Is it helpful? How does it benefit you? Because sometimes it is helpful, right? And sometimes it does benefit you, but figure it out. And then you have to get to the shift part, right? Which is all about mindset. And it is about changing your mindset and flipping it to the positive. So for example, Linda, you might be like, oh, I can't sign up for a marathon. People are going to think I'm crazy. I'm 60 years old. What am I doing? Right? You could have those. You probably not, but you know what I'm saying.
They already know that I'm crazy. It'll just confirm it.
Yeah. So then you can be like, okay, is this helpful that I'm telling myself I've never signed up for a race? No, it's not helpful. And what's the worst that could happen? You don't finish it. Okay, then what? It's not that deep. And I hate to make light of it, but a lot of the times when we are stuck in those things, it's not that deep. And perfectionism is a huge one for me because number one, it took me years to realize that perfection was something that was holding me back in different ways. And number two, it stems from my life as a personal trainer and being so into health and fitness that I had a very regimented schedule. And if I could not make that happen, it wasn't worth it. I shouldn't do it. Nope, call it off. I'll start.
Right. I have a very regimented schedule as well. And sometimes that gets in my way. Yes. Where you're inflexible to say, okay, I'll do this during this time because this is, your run time or whatever, your training time where you're training a client. So I can see how our thinking can get in the way, but also just like the rigidity, like being
The
rigid.
rigidity was killing me because and I would sit up here and you can see I've got all my gym stuff back behind me. My husband would come up here and he'd be like, I've got 15 minutes to get it in. That's all I've got. And I would look at him and I would be like, you're a freaking idiot. That's not going to do anything. But if that happens 2-3 days in a row, he's got 45 minutes on me because I didn't do it, because what's 15 minutes going to do? So I was not taking
Yeah, it's that all or nothing mentality.
It was an all or nothing mentality. And I was holding myself to a standard that didn't make sense, right? As a person who has a very strong core belief in health and wellness, I was not doing the thing a person who does that would embody, right? So for me, I had to really recognize that, wow, Erica, you are really throwing everything straight into the dumpster if it doesn't fit this perfect little box for you. And how is that helpful? Well, it wasn't, right? Is it true that if I can't get 30 minutes, I should do 0 minutes? Absolutely not. And so very quickly when I started to question it, it was like, okay, this is dumb, for lack of better words. I am really self-sabotaging here because it's not fitting my pretty little box. So then I have to work on myself, like, okay, I've got to shift this mindset that, like, just because I can't get 30 minutes or 45 minutes, 15 minutes is still good. Moving some is better than none, right? And it's something that it still gets in my brain today that, like, I have to hit a certain amount, but I'm working through things and I'm testing different things in place to make sure that I don't go down that rabbit hole again.
I can so relate to that, where you feel like you have to reach a certain amount and you're thinking, oh, I can't just do only that.
Right. If I take my half marathon training, for example, right? If I'm supposed to run 6 miles one day and all I have time for is 5, should I do 0 or should I do 5?
5. Yeah. And you know what? Your body will thank you for it.
Yes, it is a no-brainer. So often those are the things where our limiting beliefs, like, can really get into our way and sabotage you from being fully trained to run the marathon, being ready to climb the corporate ladder, right? Whatever it is, that goal that you've set out for yourself, those types of limiting beliefs are sabotaging your success.
So one of the limiting beliefs I can remember would be, I would be doing a fitness competition and I would think about, like, I wasn't a gymnast. I wasn't from Cirque du Soleil and I wasn't a silver medalist in the Olympics like some of these girls. And I was doing this 50s. And I didn't start till I was 40. And so I would get on the stage. I would be thinking, if I had a move that might be iffy, that I might not stick, I'd be worried about, what if I fall out of that? What is my backup move? And then one day I realized how limiting the belief was. And I started realizing that when you ask your brain a negative question, it can only answer in a negative way. I'm thinking about failure instead of thinking about, success. So I started asking myself a different question, or remembering when I was successful before and what that felt like, or like when I would do it, I'd be like, how can I do that move better? Or like asking myself a more positive question so that I could reframe the belief that I might fall out of that. Like, it's a reality because I wasn't a gymnast, but I could stick the move a million times in practice. So why not on the stage? Like, why would I have that fear? And what was that? And then you also have to kind of dial that down. What is that fear really? It's kind of the fear of failing.
Yes. And I'm sure you've heard that the energy flows where the mind goes, right? So a lot of that mindset shift that you were talking about is, if you're constantly thinking about how you're going to screw something up or fail something, you likely are going to go down that road. However, if you focus on the success and you focus on the things that are going to go right, those things will go right. And it's not a bunch of woo-woo. It's really about where you're putting your focus. You know, a lot of people think it's a lot of fluff and, you know, I don't know, woo woo, but it's about your focus. It's about where you're putting your energy. And not only that, but it feels a hell of a lot better to be happy and positive about something than in a negative space.
Right. Yeah. So, what are some of the limited beliefs you had?
Oh gosh, we could be here for hours.
But
So
when you tell us, I know somebody out there is probably having that same one, and they're going to identify, oh gosh, she has it too.
Yeah. So absolutely talk to you about my perfectionism, right? The perfectionism that I didn't even know that I had. And that stemmed, it was in the fitness area of my life. And it was also in the area of motherhood. And so when I had my first son, I had this idea in my head that I had to breastfeed this kid for a whole year because that's what good moms did, right? I would wake myself up in the middle of the night to do extra pumping sessions so that he would only be breastfed. So I was losing out on my sleep, right?
It sounds
Which
like
was
my daughter.
stressing my body out more because not only did I have to be a good mom, but I had to be the best mom. You know, I had to be that mom that did all the things that the doctor said were perfect, right? And it was doing more harm than good. And again, I was so wrapped up in this picture that I had in my mind of what a good mother is,
yes,
and what they did for their newborn, that I was doing way more self-harm to myself than anything else, right? Which was then because I was so tired and cranky, was putting stress on my marriage. I was not being as like loving and warm to my crying child because I was exhausted, and it was just causing more harm all around. And it wasn't until I had that aha moment of like, okay, actually the good mother is just the mother that feeds her kid. It could be anything as long as they're well fed. So that was a big one for me. And then another one that recently bubbled to the surface for me was on imposter syndrome, right?
oh
And
yeah,
it
that would be one for me.
it was extremely huge. So a little bit of background, I am the youngest C-suite leader in my organization. I'm a chief people officer, and I'm also an executive coach and consultant and a personal trainer and all these other things, right? But my main day job is chief people officer. I'm the youngest there, the newest C-level leader in the organization, now that I've even been there for almost 3 years now, but still the newest one. And so I've always felt this sense of like, okay, I've got to figure things out. I don't want to step on toes. So I always kind of felt it there, but I equated it back to what Brene Brown calls the FFTs, which is the effing first times, you know? So you have to go through the FFT. So I was like, made it through my FFTs there. But one of my 2023 goals is to get on more stages as keynote speakers in 2023. So I went to a keynote speaking boot camp a couple months ago.
Oh, who was the who led it?
It was through an organization called Impact 11.
Oh,
amazing.
cool.
Amazing. So I go to this thing, I'm all pumped up. I don't know anybody. I'm going to learn so much. And I walk into the first event of the weekend, which is a happy hour. And it becomes very clear to me very quickly that everyone in this room is a professional keynote speaker already. Not only are they already a professional keynote speaker, but they also all know each other. They all have relationships with each other. And then here's Erica. And I just felt this like crushing weight of, oh my God, what are you doing here? You are in the wrong place. Holy shit. You know, like, and I went through the whole night and I was like, I'm going to fake it till I make it. Like, you know, got in, introduced some people. And then when it was time, you know, when it was like acceptable to leave, I kind of like snuck out and got back to my room while I left everybody behind at the end of the night, just chatting away. I was like, holy shit, what did I get myself into? Like, these people have been here 5, 6, 7 times. They do it for a living. They're charging people $40,000 a speech. What am I?
Oh my gosh, that's the best room to be in.
I know. And then I just had this moment, right? Because I've been doing this work a long time, but I had to go through those unconscious, you know, limiting beliefs. And I had this moment where I was like, Erica, God damn it, you are going through imposter syndrome right now. I was like, you absolutely do deserve to be in that room. And everyone had to do that for the first time at some point. And so then I kind of had this that's when I was like, you got to get into the mindset shift. And so I started doing the positive self-talk. I started saying, like, you absolutely deserve to be here, and you start where you start. And for
I
me,
like that.
the you start where you start is huge, because as someone who has a health and wellness background and is extremely focused on fitness, if you are 50 pounds overweight or 100 pounds overweight, or you've run marathons or you don't run at all, like, you start where you start, and we all start at different points, right? We can all get to the end point, but you start where you start.
Right. I love
So I
that. That's such a
had,
good point for everyone listening today.
absolutely, you start where you start. And so I just kept telling myself that all weekend. And I was like, you start where you start, and how far you go this weekend depends on what you do. And I was like, I can pay a lot of money to be here. I need to put myself out there. I need to do the damn thing. And I could have gone through the rest of that weekend just attending the workshops, taking the notes, keeping my head down and learning. Or I could do what I did, which was put myself the hell out there. So we were going through exercises. Anytime they asked for a volunteer, I raised my hand, right? I got up in front of the stage and I spoke. I did my practice in front of all of these people who do it for a living. And I was like, I'm going to do it even though I'm scared shitless. And you know what happened? I did my thing and everybody cheered. And then 2 agents approached me to talk to me. And it
See,
gave, yep, and it gave every other person in that
yeah.
room an invitation to talk to me, because now they had something to talk to me about. Before, I was just a girl sitting at a table that they didn't know and they'd never seen. But now I was a girl who was talking about glass ceilings and sticky floors, and women being told to lean in, but not too much, to speak up, but not too loud. And so
And
now something
that's
to talk
true.
about.
And when
So,
you said that about you know, everybody's afraid to put themselves out there. We're all afraid of failing, that judgment, if we don't say the right thing or don't know what to do.
yeah.
Who am I to do this? Do I know enough? And oh my gosh, look at this person over here. They're getting paid 40,000, 50,000 for a speech. Oh my gosh, what am I doing here? But
And
you're not looking at what you actually have to bring to the table when you're doing that. And I can remember being at the School Greatness at the summit, and I'm sitting in the audience, and I get the nerve up, but I'm like, it sounded like I did run a marathon. I'm asking a question, and so I asked my question. So that there was a lot of good things that came out of me just standing up in the audience asking a question. People got to know my podcast. I got the answer to my question, and then I met Tim Story, and he was one of the speakers there, and he came on my show 2 or 3 times now. And he remembered me, and he spoke over me and said some really, like, where I was going to go.
wow.
He gave me kind of a future speaking kind of thing. And so I think it's just realizing that everybody's scared, and that you have to get out of your own way and get out of your comfort zone to do anything great.
Yeah, it's true. And to go back into that moment, I could have sat there and learned a lot all weekend, and it would not have been a bust, right? It would have been a great weekend. I would have come home with a lot of action items, and I would have checked my box. But by taking it that step further and saying, I'm going to go all in on this, it's one weekend. And I asked myself, what's the worst that could happen? I fumble over my words. I don't make sense. Let's say, God forbid, they all laugh at me. Okay, I still get to go home at the end of the weekend and nobody here knows me. So what does it matter,
Oh, yeah.
But
That too.
yeah, so you can get there slow or you can get there fast, but your fear, right? And the fear, you asked me what some of my sticky floors were. My fear of what other people think of me is ridiculously huge. And my brain knows this, but that is where my mind automatically goes anytime I go to do something. I don't know why. That is who I am, And it's interesting because I was talking to another woman earlier today, and she talked about this inner deserving level that we all get, and that is formed by the age of 7 from our childhood experiences. And I was thinking it's got to equate to that. Now, I could throw my hands up in the air and say, well, my inner deserving level is always going to be like that. So here we are. Or I could recognize that these are the questions and the fears that I have. And I can either let them stop me dead in my tracks, which, if that's the case, I would not be in the C-suite. I would not be the breadwinner of my family. I would not be giving keynote speeches or have a podcast. I would, God knows what I'd be doing, but it wouldn't have been any of those things, right? Or I can use that fear and recognize it and still do the hard thing.
I say do the hard thing. And then one day you're going to look back and you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I remember when I was scared to do that. And now I'm like a duck in water and thinking, what else more can I do? What bigger thing, can I achieve?
And the hard thing is now the easy thing. And now I'm on to other hard things. And it's that repetition, getting through those FFTs, right? As soon as you get through an FFT, you've got more confidence.
I love that. I love that.
Next step. Yeah.
Now, what do you think is, you were talking about sticky floors, and what is the most common sticky floor you see?
Knowing your self-worth. Hands
See?
down.
Oh my gosh, that's 100%.
Yep. And I
Yeah.
only work with women at this stage. I have a limited bandwidth. And so I choose to pick my favorite clients, and it's women. and that is what comes up time and time again when we start peeling back the layers of the onion as to why they don't want to ask for a bigger increase, why they don't want to ask for a raise, the corner office, something within their home. It's all about the self-worth and wanting the same level of being cherished as they are giving out as well.
Well, I think sometimes you can sit and you can listen to what's going on in your head. You know how we talk to ourselves, but we don't listen to what we're actually saying. And what are the thoughts that are running through your head, your mind? Are you sometimes thinking, I have a lot of single ladies, so this is just on my mind, where you're wanting someone to love you, someone to appreciate you, someone to admire you and adore you. And maybe you've been married and you're divorced and you're out there and you're looking and you're on these dating sites, but this is the feeling you're having. Mm-hmm. And so the suggestion then would be to work on that self-value that you were talking about and give yourself those things that you were looking for someone else to give you, like appreciate yourself, right? What are you appreciating yourself truly? Are you giving yourself time? Do you pamper yourself? Do you value, like if you have core values, are you honoring those? Because the value all starts at home. It all starts with you, because people only value us as much as we value ourselves. And so if you're one of these people today that are wishing and hoping for that, give it to yourself and see how your world changes.
I love that we're talking about this because I've been married now for, 8 years and with the same guy for, God, I don't know, 13 or so. And it's been a long time since I've been in the dating world, but I can tell you that I was that person that would change myself to fit the man in every relationship. You like football? I like football. You like soccer? I like soccer. You like going to movies? So do I. And I didn't even realize I was doing it.
Right.
But it was this, because I didn't value myself, I was willing to mold and fit them so that they would value me.
Right. That isn't how it works, though. It
that is
doesn't
not
work that
how
way.
it works. Yeah. But yeah, I remember just always being I never thought I was a lost person when I was dating, of course, because when you're in it, you don't see it, right? But now that I'm in a healthy relationship, I'm able to look back and I can see how I always put myself second, which you should never do, and, like the airplanes say, put your own oxygen mask on first, right? If I don't take care of myself, my kids aren't getting taken care of. I was always putting myself second. I was always putting their needs first. And I was willing to do whatever I needed to do to make it nice and make it happy.
Oh,
Right.
right. Right.
And
People
that is
please.
not a solution.
Yeah. And so when you're in that, which many women fall into because we're taught to be the good girl, the
Mhm.
nice girl, the
Yep.
nurturing, the,
Make it nice.
sacrificing, I don't know. I want to say sacrificial lamb. It keeps wanting to come out. But like you're not honoring who you truly are. And it really actually is inauthentic to the
Yeah.
T. And somewhere along the line, where you're in this relationship, you're going to wake up to like who you really are, and they're going to wake up to it. And it's like, why not just be who you are to begin with, so you don't have to pretend? And there isn't dynamics later, because you get in a relationship and maybe you really hate football because you're like, it's a violent sport,
Yep.
but you pretended to love it. And so inwardly, maybe you get resentment because like, I do this for you, you don't do that, anything for me that and so I just think in the long run, it just pays to be yourself from the get-go, and you have your deal breakers that you already know what they are, and your boundaries that you already like, this is where I'm at, so that you don't wind up with a lemon that you want to throw back in the pond, or being someone you're not, right?
Well, and you're not here to fit somebody else and to fit into somebody else's lifestyle,
Right.
right? How about you shift that and have somebody fit into yours,
Yeah.
because what you are is not just good enough, it is better than that, but you have to recognize your self worth. You have to understand that. And as cheesy as it sounds, you have to love yourself before anyone is ever going to be able to love you. And I know that's like some next level therapy stuff, but it is so true.
It is
And,
so true.
and I can just look back like on all of my dating escapades, and I can I can see it now, through the gifts of time past. Thank God for that. About all of the things I was doing for other people when I should have been pouring into my own cup, and I should have been more focused on what was important to me. Now, of course, everything that I went through, I'm glad that I did, yada, yada, all that good stuff. But when I think about the advice that I want to tell my daughter about when she is dating and what she decides to do, is to be who you came to be. Do not try to fit into somebody else's life and what they think you should be, but just be authentically you.
So when you aren't pouring into your own cup, there's a value statement again,
Yeah.
right? You're giving to everyone else. Sometimes we don't think we're worthy and deserving of that, and we're pouring into everyone else, but we're not pouring into our own cup. And I think it's good to examine that sometimes, because the truth of the matter is if you don't fill your cup, you don't have anything for anybody else. In the long run, you're going to just get tired, you're going to get burned out, and you're going to be resentful if you're always the caretaker and never the one being taken care of.
Absolutely. And like, this is a tangible thing that if you're listening, you can do, whether you are single, whether you are with somebody in a relationship or whatever, is if you are feeling that burnout sensation, whether it is with a spouse, a partner, a friend, because these things can also occur with friendships, and they can occur in work relationships, is write down how you are filling their cup and how they're filling yours. right? So for me, if I'm looking, my CEO is my boss. If I look down to be like, here's how he fills my cup by supporting me, mentoring me, guiding me, he's available for after hours text, all those things check the boxes. Good, good, good. But if it's just me doing those things, I will very quickly get to burnout.
It's not reciprocal.
Right? It's not reciprocal. Now, the thing is, once you create that list and you show like, here's how I am supporting you, and my list has 2 things on there of how you're supporting me, you need to think of ways that they can support you back, because people are not mind readers. They don't know how to fill your cup most of the time. You know, there's your gaslighters and your narcissists out there, but and this is what I've had to learn through my years of marriage, is he can't read my mind when I'm on the brink of burnout or I think he's not doing enough. He thinks he's doing a great job. You know, I have to tell him.
Wait, honey, I put the laundry into the dryer.
And it sat there for 3 days, you know?
Or but then it's, oh, I put a load in the wash and push the button.
All of those things, you know, so that's where you have to actually drive forward on the action rather than just being like, I'm filling all these other people's cups, right? And then ask them too if what you're doing is even helpful, because there were things that I was doing. My husband was like, I don't freaking care about that. And I'm like, well,
you're like, yeah,
you know, and he's
glad
like,
to know. Stop doing it.
Yeah. So
oh my gosh.
Communicate, that's for sure.
So I think again is whatever you feel like you're not getting, give it to yourself and see how things change. And I have to get on to talking about the glass ceiling. And this could be anything in life, like where you feel like you're hitting a ceiling, and it could be you feel like someone's holding you back, or you know, it could be a number of things, but you feel like you're limited or you can't go beyond, though you're wanting, like, let's say you are a keynote speaker and you just started, you know, like you said, at this thing, and you know, you got Brendan Burchard over here, and he's been on every stage, every arena, and you want to do that, but you have only done your first talk. How do you break that glass ceiling and get to where he's at?
So I'm a big fan of having your own personal board of directors, because so often we will sit there and we will bang our head against this glass ceiling because everything that we've done has worked to get us where we are, but now it's not getting us any farther. And we often cannot see or envision a different way around that. So I have a personal board of directors that I work with myself. They are my team. They are my support team. I call them for different things, right? I call them for support. I call them for advice. I call them for guidance. And I call them for kind of that like, oh shit moment. Like, what are we going to do? And those are the people that can provide me different perspectives and different insights. And I have people at all different levels, but they are all levels above me. So they have been there. They have done that. They have played the game. So I talk to them and they kind of give me advice. And I have to take it 99% of the time because they've done it. They're successful. So if you find yourself, right, in that space where you are just banging your head against this glass ceiling, and I guarantee you, Linda, I will get to that spot with this keynote speaking, that I will need to call the connections that I have sought out myself to add to my board of directors, and I will need to say, help. I don't know what's going on, but whatever I'm doing ain't working. And they can guide me. And sometimes it is having that person that just says, let me give you the person to talk to, the connection. I've got somebody who's got another speech. And then the dominoes start to fall. But you can't go at it alone.
So what about women that maybe are stuck in the old roles in their mind, and they worry about being in that powerful position of breaking the glass ceiling? Like, let's say their spouse isn't so on board with it. Maybe some of the ladies that are at the office, they don't like it when they start shaking things up and moving ahead and moving up, going after their dreams.
There are a lot of women out there who do not believe in abundance, and they do not believe that there is room for more than one at the top. And I mean, one woman, one power seat, right? And they will do anything to tear it down. They will dig their heels in. They will make your projects harder. They will offer you all the ways of why things won't work. They will sabotage you, talk behind your back, do all that BS, right? And you're not going to win against that. You are not, my mom always says, like, you can't argue with stupid. You are not going to change that person's mindset. You have to be very steadfast in your goals. And very similarly, like if you have a spouse
by them being stubborn and resistant to what you're doing, they're digging their heels in, like you said, digging them in. And you have to be set that you're not going to let that resistance deter you from your goals. That one person is not, or two or three, is not going to stop you from your destiny, because your dreams matters more than that.
Yeah. And Linda, look, I am a person that believes in abundance. I believe that there is room for all of my female friends at the top. And my goal is to bring more women into positions of power and keep them there, right? But not all women think that way. There are a lot of people out there who have this very cutthroat mentality of like, it's me or it's nobody. And
yeah, they think that there's not enough to go around.
I do not subscribe to that. So, okay, I don't got to worry about you then. I'm going to bring all these other women up. And you know what? When I'm up there, I will still be the person to help you up, because that's the only way we're going to change people, and it's not easy. Like, I have dealt with my fair share of negative Nancy's, mean girls, people who just want to dig in and make it impossible. And I have had some downright ugly conversations where I have had to stand my ground. And I don't like doing that, because I like everything to be nice, just like every other woman.
Nobody likes confrontation, right? Well, some people might, but I think I hear you on what you're saying too. And I think when you do stick to your dreams and your goals, because sometimes people like to shake the tree to see if they can shake you off. Then they come around later and they're like, I want what you're having.
How'd you get there? Yeah. Right. What'd you do? So that's what you've got to do. And Barbara Walters just passed away. And I saw the most amazing thing on the news. And it was a taping of The View, which was her show, her talk show, from when she retired. And they brought out first, because Barbara Walters was the first female newscaster, and she went through a lot of shit being the first woman.
I would have loved to had an interview with her.
Oh my God, right? So she went through all the things. She stuck to her guns. She says, I never had a mentor. I never had
to figure it out herself.
I had to figure it out myself. She goes, but my legacy will be paving the way for other female broadcasters and newscasters. And on this retirement show for her, they brought out Oprah as a surprise, because Oprah,
oh my gosh,
was his mentor. And then they started bringing out Connie Chung and all of the other female newscasters behind her, right? Brooke Baldwin, everybody. And she had this army of women behind her that, because she paved the road, other women could walk it. And it is like, damn, that is powerful.
Oh yeah, 100%. So you never know what, just sticking to your guns and, following your vision and bringing other people along for the ride. What might happen? What might you create that the world truly needs? So don't give up, don't give in, and don't let somebody discourage you. I think it's usually just they're uncomfortable and you're shining a spotlight on that. And maybe they're a little bit insecure, or like you said, they have the scarcity mindset and they don't recognize that everybody has gifts, nobody was skipped, and that we all have we can all come to the table and we can share in what you're great at or what I'm great at, and that there's room for everyone at the table.
And one thing I'd love to touch on that I think is so important is the beginning is usually exciting. It's usually fun. You usually have supporters, right? The ending, always a celebration. It's usually amazing too. The middle, it can sometimes
A little
suck.
sticky.
It can be sticky. Yeah. You're going through the day-to-day stuff. It can be hard, right? But that is where the work is done. That is the bulk of it. And you've got to stay in the stick, and you've got to just keep putting one foot in front of the other. The power of consistency.
That's why you got to know your why inside and out.
Absolutely.
Because not every day in the life of an entrepreneur or a go-getter or somebody that's after their dreams runs smooth. And you will be tested, like, do you really mean it that you want to stand on stage and be in every arena like Brendan Burchard? Or do you really mean it that you want to have this organization for women? It's going to be tested. And that's why you have to have that to dial into on those rough days. You have to remind yourself, why am I doing this?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I'd love to touch on the middle, because most all of us are in the middle for the bulk of our lives, and we've just really got to dial into, like you said, our why, our purpose, connect that to those core values to help you push through the stick.
What would you recommend to people out there when they are going through the middle and maybe they feel stuck, just kind of stuck in the middle? They have a vision of where they want to go, but they're not moving forward.
I'm a big believer in visionary work, right? And so every night when I go to sleep, and this is a practice that I have, I close my eyes and I imagine what it is that I most want to be doing. So right now, when I go to bed at night, I imagine myself up on those keynote stages, delivering the keynote down to what I'm wearing, how my hair looks, and what I'm feeling. And that is the last thought that I have before I go to sleep, right? So focus on what your vision is. Keep your mindset on the end goal, right? And keep going back to that, and stay away from comparison, because none of us know the true story of everyone else that we are seeing out there on social media, in real life. We don't know what stickiness they've gone through. We don't see the 10 years of hard work. We're just sitting there going, well, it's so easy for her. And the truth is, it's probably not.
Yeah.
We don't see that work. We just see the end result, and we're thinking, why am I not there? So,
and you might think you want to be there, but maybe you don't. Maybe like you don't know what the cost is. And maybe the cost is you have to show up every week at a speaking event, and you miss your sports with your kids. I don't know, but I'm just saying, you have to really know, do you really want that, or is it just look shiny?
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's another thing too, especially if you're in corporate America or you're wanting the race medals or whatever, there's a lot of crap that goes along with all of those things. And I don't say that to deter you. I just say that, and we never know the full story. We never know the full story, but you've got to go through the middle. Don't compare yourself to other people, because you are uniquely you. Just keep yourself focused on what you want that vision to be and what you're trying to leave behind.
Love that. Well, lastly, I've really enjoyed this conversation with you today, and I can absolutely visualize you blowing away a keynote speech on the stage. And I feel like, that is something I could see you doing continually. So you have definitely done your homework on your topic. I really enjoyed today. What thought, to tie it all up with the glass ceiling, the limited beliefs, would you like to leave the audience with?
Just keep going. And that is I couldn't come up with a word of the year, Nothing was sticking with me, but I could only come up with just keep going. And that is the thing. We have to just keep going, right? We're not going to hit gender equality in our lifetime. We're not going to hit our goals tomorrow. We have to just keep going.
Oh, so true. And oh, I love this. There's a quote by Lucille Ball that I'm forgive me, anybody that is a huge Lucy fan. I don't remember it to the T, but in essence, she is saying that it doesn't pay to get discouraged. Just go about the work that you've set out to do and keep going. So basically, when you are discouraged, the best thing to do is just set about the work that you had in mind, and then it has a way of turning around.
Absolutely. I'll leave you with my favorite quote, which is by a Peloton instructor, Tunde, but it is, the beauty of uncertainty is infinite possibility.
Ooh, love that. That's a tweetable.
Yeah, tweetable. It is tweetable. Well, thank you,
So
Linda.
you guys, thanks for hanging with us today. I literally at one point licked peanut butter off my lips, I'm sure. We were talking, I said, too bad this podcast is on video, because right now I just got home from the gym and I want to snack on my Who gluten-free crackers, which I adore. And then I had some natural peanut butter.
You go. You got to fuel the body.
That's it. Well, thanks so much, Erica, for coming on this show. And thanks everyone for listening to this episode of the Sisterhood of Sweat. Let us know what you like, what you resonate with, what you'd like to see more of. And before we go, Lindsay, can you leave your link as well as your Instagram, or where people can reach you on social media?
Absolutely. So I have a link tree. It will take you to all of my links, but it is the linktr.ee/Erica Anderson Rooney. And you can find me on LinkedIn, Erica Anderson Rooney. I am always all over there, along with Instagram and Facebook, Erica Anderson Rooney.
Perfect. And as always, guys, keep on keeping on. Bye, everyone.